Glad that you are watching us on TV47. On the news tonight, senators decry intimidation. Some senators have condemned what they termed as blatant intimidation for their opposition to the third basis of revenue sharing formula. Some of the senators opposed to the formula woke up to the tax demands they say are fictitious. Is the state playing dirty with the revenue sharing formula? Also tonight, BBI on recess. ODM leader Raila Odinga insists the BBI process is so much alive, albeit on recess. Raila also rubbishes claims referendum will be too expensive undertaking for the country. The details in this newscast tonight. Plus, MP's pension untenable. The Salaries and Remuneration Commission insists the proposed 100,000 shillings per month pension for MPs is too exorbitant and unrealistic. The pension risks busting an already ballooned wage bill. And Mwea alien snails. Rice farmers in Mwea are now in a battle with a new pest that is destroying their crops in the field. Known for causing bilharzia in rice farming regions, a rare breed of snail has now started eating away rice crops. The details on this newscast tonight.
This is TV47 News Tonight with Abubakar Abdullahi.
Ann Wairimu is our sign language interpreter. TV47 News Tonight with me, Abubakar Abdullahi, begins right now. To our top story, ODM leader Raila Odinga now says that the BBI reggae is on a half-time. Odinga, however, says a referendum should not spend more than 2 billion shillings, as Joash Onsare now reports.
ODM boss Raila Odinga says the BBI reggae is only on half-time.
They say that, oh, the reggae stopped. And I said, the reggae did not stop. The reggae went on half-time. The players have been getting some kind of massage and instructions from the coaches. And we have been doing overhaul. So shortly the reggae is going to be back. And nobody can stop reggae.
Raila Odinga and President Kenyatta are yet to receive the final BBI report, even after the expiry of the BBI task force's term.
We are going to receive that report, myself and President Uhuru Kenyatta. We will make it public. All the issues which were raised by Kenyans during the process of consultations will be dealt with by that report.
Odinga, however, says that the referendum should not cost more than 2 billion shillings.
A referendum does not need to cost more than 2 billion Kenyan shillings. So you should not be told, oh, we have no money. There's no money to do it. No, there's money to do it, and we can teach Mr. Chebukati.
The former premier was speaking at the ODM headquarters in Nairobi during the swearing-in of the recently elected ODM Elections Board and the party's disciplinary committees. He said that ODM will ensure democracy from grassroots to the national elections.
The party must be democratic. That is when it can run a democratic government. There must be a process of consultations at every stage within the party structure, going from the sub-branches to branches to the national party.
Joash Onsare, TV47, Nairobi.
ODM leader Raila Odinga now says that Deputy President William Ruto is part of the government and should therefore not complain about deep state. Raila has dismissed the claims that the second-in-command made earlier this week of a powerful people plotting to frustrate his 2022 presidential ambitions. Mumbi Chege with the details.
The ODM party leader has said that Deputy President William Ruto knows better about the so-called deep state since he's in the government.
I hold no position in the government of the Republic of Kenya. It's led by the president, whose name you know, and his deputy, who says the name you know. So if you're talking about the deep state, who is there? It's the president and his deputy. So I go and ask Mr. Deputy President, which deep state are you talking about?
Deputy President William Ruto this week claimed that there is a deep state or system that wants to frustrate his 2022 presidential ambitions.
But we know, as ODM, we have learned from the past, we have experience, and we know where we want to go. We know where we're coming from, and we know where we want to go. The purpose of a BPI to ensure that Kenyans have a free and fair elections.
Interior PS Karanja Kibicho also dismissed Ruto's utterances, saying that Ruto is only scared of losing 2022 polls. A section of DP's allies have come out in his defense.
Hao watu wanajificha just because they can direct police at you. These are not men of courage. These are cowards. When you use a system to commit crimes, or you officialize your crimes, you're not courageous. You're simply a coward.
Uhuru himself is going home, and if Murathe is not aware, Uhuru is finishing his term. And the election starting from MCRs up to presidential position or presidency will be decided by Kenyans.
East Africa Legislative Assembly Member of Parliament and Raila's elder brother Oburu Odinga had implied that now ODM stands a chance in 2022 with the support of the system. Mumbi Chege, TV47.
Elsewhere, the County Assembly of Nairobi is set to pick a new speaker tomorrow following the resignation of Beatrice Elachi earlier this week. Jubilee Party has already endorsed former Makadara MP Benson Mutura as its preferred candidate, a move that has been opposed by a section of Jubilee lawmakers. Eli Logova reports.
Nairobi County Assembly, that has had unprecedented chaos and unwinding wrangles, is set for a new dawn of Assembly leadership Friday as MCAs elect a new speaker to fill the position that was left vacant after embattled Speaker Beatrice Elachi tendered her resignation Tuesday. Her resignation coming after pressure from MCAs calling for a resignation. Jubilee Party has already settled on former Makadara Member of Parliament Benson Mutura as the candidate to replace Beatrice Elachi. His name was among the 7 candidates shortlisted by the acting Assembly clerk.
We know that there are 5 or 6 people who have expressed an interest in the position of Speaker of Nairobi, which recently became vacant. But we wanted to be able to inform our members that after consultations, we have zeroed on Mr. Bernard Mutura as the Jubilee candidate. All the other candidates, of course, are free to go and appeal to members in the House, but as Jubilee, we do have our candidate who is Honorable Bernard Mutura.
Benson Mutura's appointment as the preferred Jubilee candidate has, however, elicited mixed reactions from MCAs allied to the party. This was evident during the party's meeting Thursday, where a section of Jubilee MCAs skipped the meeting, raising eyebrows as to whether there was consensus on the appointment of Mutura as the party's candidate.
Kuna kitu tumekuja hapa kwa sababu ya kitu tunaitwa nidhamu. Tuko na party position. Chama imetupatia jina ya Bernard Mutura. Na sisi kama wana Jubilee ambao ni wengi. Process of correct the speaker ni it's twofold.
The entire honorables, MCAs, that I look forward for their support, and I'm humbly requesting that they support me, and I will make sure that I address Nairobi issues, I address their issues. Those are my expectations. So whether Jubilee has given their position, for us, what we are saying is, we'll try.
Other candidates who have expressed their interest include Alex Ole Magelo, who is said to have stepped down this evening, Alan Chacha, Abdi Ali Abdi, Mike Ogonyo, Kennedy Okoyo, and Washington Odingo. For Mutula to be elected as the Speaker, he will require 85 votes as provided by the law. The Assembly is expected to have a special sitting Friday afternoon. Eli Logova, TV47.
Moving on, a section of Jubilee senators are now claiming to have been intimidated by the government for opposing its stand on the revenue sharing formula. The senators claim that their bank accounts have been frozen. Our parliamentary affairs reporter Elizabeth Mutuku now reports.
I vote no.
Ahead of Senate's 9th attempt to unlock the revenue sharing standoff, a section of senators are now claiming to have been intimidated to support the government's position on the disputed revenue formula. Kericho Senator Aaron Cheruyot claims at least 3 senators have had their accounts frozen and KRA on their case. 3 senators include Meru's Mithika Linturi, Cleophas Malala of Kakamega and himself. Senate is expected to meet next week after a sitting that was anticipated for Thursday failed to take place since the House leadership never requested for a sitting that should have been gazetted as required by law. Nandi Senator Samson Chairalge and Migori counterpart, however, says it's a constitutional right for any senator to make any vote independently.
I totally condemn in the strongest terms possible any form of intimidation to my colleagues or any other elected leader in this country. It is not only retrogressive and absurd, but it is a threat to democracy and the rule of law in this country.
It would be very unfortunate if a bank account is being frozen in a manner that is not anchored in a law. If somebody is not being intimidated, is being intimidated in a manner that is not anchored in a law. But if KRA is doing its job and there is a probable cause, then let us not bring it here.
In ensuring that we call for accountability and respect for leaders in this country, our children will do that. And those who are punishing us now, our children and grandchildren will punish their grandchildren.
There has been allegations of interference with the forces outside the house of the revenue formula that has now derailed funds to the counties.
And the obstacles is that our colleagues have decided to play political expediency for both political and financial gain. And therefore, I think that it is absurd and ironical that some of the colleagues also are using this as to revive their political dwindling fortunes.
It is the anxiety, it is the fear that senators have that they might have to report to their counties monies that were different from the ones that they found when they got elected. And majority of senators have treated this as a zero-sum game. Nikiripota ati pesa imepunguka wakati wa mula yangu, basi nimejimaliza.
Meanwhile, Treasury CS Ukuru Yatani says if consensus will not be reached next week, Treasury will also seek to amend the law to allow at least 50% of the funds to be disbursed to the counties.
We also got 350 million as the NIDA grant, but which directly went to the counties.
Senate adjourned on Tuesday after House failed to agree on the formula for the 8th time. Elizabeth Mutuku, TV47 Nairobi.
Treasury Cabinet Secretary Ukuru Yatani has revealed that 9.7 billion shillings have so far been disbursed to counties since March in the fight against coronavirus. While addressing the Parliamentary Health Committee at Parliament today on Thursday, Yatani has said that the Treasury has also received a further 134 billion shillings from international development partners, while the COVID-19 Emergency Response Fund has so far raised 9.9 billion shillings from Kenyans. David Mudoka has the details.
In the wake of continued scrutiny over the management of COVID-19 funds by the government, Treasury CS Ukuru Yatani has revealed that 9.7 billion shillings has been disbursed to counties through the Ministry of Health since March.
Well, Chair, I think one second reflection.
While addressing the Parliamentary Health Committee on Thursday, Yatani has said among the 9.7 billion shillings, 5 billion shillings has been distributed across all 47 counties to set up requisite infrastructure to respond to the novel coronavirus coronavirus. 850 million shillings has been utilized to cater for the most vulnerable population in Mombasa, Kwale, Kilifi and Mandera counties, while 2.4 billion shillings has been used to pay allowances for healthcare workers at the county level. An additional 1.5 billion shillings has been disbursed to county hospitals to cater for an upsurge in COVID-19 cases. Among the hospitals are Kitui, Mandera and Coast General Hospitals, as well as the Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Teaching and Referral Hospital in Kisumu. This comes as Yatani revealed that the government has received 134 billion shillings from bilateral and multilateral development partners, with 130.4 billion shillings already disbursed to the Health Ministry. Yatani also said that the COVID-19 Emergency Response Fund has so far raised 9.9 billion shillings from Kenyans, although it has not been used hitherto.
When counties are not doing well, they will unnecessarily put pressure on the neighboring counties or maybe on the national government. That's what we've done, and we will continue to support the counties to manage the challenges that we are currently going through.
MPs have, however, faulted county preparedness to deal with a spike in COVID-19 cases despite the disbursements of the funds.
Lamu haijajitayarisha kiaina yoyote. Na waziri, sisi na nyinyi tuna jukumu ya kujua hii pesa imetumika vipi.
The legislators have also noted that the welfare of healthcare workers is of great concern, even as Yatani says 2.4 billion shillings has so far been used as allowances for the frontline caregivers.
I don't hear as much about staff, and like if you're saying you're putting up more hospitals and you'll probably be finished in a year, are we already planning for that staff and other equipment?
The report comes days after the Senate demanded for a thorough auditing of COVID-19 funds, with claims rife that the funds have been mismanaged within Afya House in the past few months. David Muthoka, TV47, Nairobi.
Well, still on matters COVID-19, the Commission on Administrative Justice Ombudsman has urged all public agencies that have been allocated funds on the mitigation against COVID-19 to practice transparency on the amounts allocated. The Commission has also asked the Ministry of Health and the county governments to provide information to the public on the availability of quarantine and health facilities and their capacities. This follows cases of patients seeking medical services being turned away from several facilities.
The Commission takes seriously cases of public officers disobeying their legal obligations and works closely with other relevant agencies to enforce legal administrative action to remedy such violations. It is important for all public agencies that have been allocated funds to expend on the mitigation and recovery measures against the COVID-19 to make proactive disclosures on the amounts allocated and the expenditures thereof. All contracts specifying the contractual sum and contract period entered into for the purchase of goods and services in respect of COVID-19, and lastly, the names of the service providers, the contractors that have been awarded the tenders, or individuals to whom the contracts have been awarded. Further, the Ministry of Health and county governments must provide timely information to the public on the number of quarantine, isolation, and treatment facilities that are available and accessible to the public.
You're watching TV47 News Tonight with me, Abu Bakar Abdullahi. 17 minutes past 9 p.m. Time for us to take a short break. We'll be back with much more news after this break. Stay tuned. Welcome back to TV47 News Tonight with me, Abu Bakar Abdullahi. Let's get to more news. And the Maasai community, which is known for its emphasis on traditional ceremonies, has not been spared by the effects of COVID-19 pandemic. For the first time, during the endorsement of John Parit Ole Singaru as the Kajiado South elder, only a small number of elders attended the ceremony, as Nanok Lorraine tells us now.
Ceremonies in the Maasai community that attract thousands have been halted following the COVID-19 pandemic, though members of the community have vowed to continue holding such events, but under the guidelines issued by the Ministry of Health in containing the spread of the virus.
Watu walikuwa wachache si kama kawaida sababu ya janga la corona. Mara nyingi sherehe hii inakuja na maelfu ya watu kuja kushuhudia hafla hii kifanyika. Lakini tunapoona leo tulifuata kanuni na sheria tulizowekewa na Wizara ya Afya ili tusiweze kuvunja sheria za kiserikali ya watu 100. Na ndio maana tumejaribu tu kuwa na watu wachache ili tuende kufuata sheria na zile zote mikakati ambayo tumewekewa na wizara ili tusiende kuvuka ama kuharibu jinsi serikali imetueleza.
During the ceremony, elders popularly known as Iseuri, aged between 50 and 80 years, blessed John Parit Ole Singaru and endorsed him as a Kajiado South elder. Although the ceremony was conducted today, such like events are held thrice a year, but things are different this year due to COVID-19.
Kuna sherehe traditional ceremonies ambazo tungekuwa tumezifanya, lakini janga hili limesababisha watu kutotangamana. Kwa hivyo hatuwezi kuja pamoja kwa sababu hii.
Parit Ole Singaru has been on the forefront in advancing education in Kajiado South. Nanok Lauren, TV47.
Now, the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, SRC, has opposed the Parliamentary Pension Amendments Bill that was approved by the National Assembly. The bill will see more than MPs who retired between 1984 and 2001 receive a monthly pension of 100,000 shillings for life.
As I said, we should fear being poor. Madam Speaker, we must invest.
In a statement to Newsroom, the Salary and Remuneration Commission, CRC, has opposed the legislative bill that seeks to increase the pension for former members of parliament. The commission has now threatened to petition President Uhuru Kenyatta not to assent the bill into law.
The member abstaining, the floor belongs to the member for Kideret.
CRC urges that if the bill is assented into law, it shall only increase the burden to the taxpayer.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, I rise to support this bill.
The move, according to CRC, will set a bad precedent and might push other public officers to demand for an increase.
Madam Speaker, going by the mood of the House,
CRC further says the pension is an employment benefit that should have been referred to the CRC, whose mandate is to make recommendations to the government on the review of pensions payable to the current and past holders of public offices. Last week, Parliament approved the legislative bill that will see former MPs who served between 1984 and 2001 earn pension up to 125,000 every month for life.
Taking into account the situation of the economy now, this bill will cause serious strain to the exchequer. But more worse than that, and I think we must live to the fact that this is going to incite all the other sectors within the civil service.
More than 375 MPs are expected to receive an increase of pension up to 125,000 shillings if President Kenyatta assents the bill. Nancy Kimuyu, TV47.
Rice production in Mwea Tebere irrigation scheme is expected to drop this season due to paddy fields invasion by snail and lack of fertilizers during this planting season. More than 500 acres have been invaded by the alien pests that are destroying the rice and have destroyed the rice since March this year.
Rice farmers in Mwea Tebere irrigation scheme are dumbfounded and do not know what to do after snails invaded their paddy rice fields in March this year. The farmers say they have been seeking a solution to the slimy pest for the past 5 months without success. They say the alien pests are destroying their rice in nurseries and during the process of transplanting.
Watu wote tunapanda tuko na shida ya snail. Kwa sababu ukipanda mchele kwa shamba zinakula zote. So shida ambayo sasa tuko nayo ni kwa sababu hakuna dawa. Wale ambao tumeita hapa watuangalie hizi kono wamesema hakuna dawa.
Farmers say they are working with research organization to come up with a solution to the problem, but they are also worried that the snails are breeding very fast.
President wakati alikuja hapa Tebere, alikuja akasema mchele yote wakulima wao wakinunuliwa 85 per kg. Lakini wale watu walikuwa wanatununulia hiyo 85 si wote, kwa sababu multipurpose ndio ilikuwa wakinunua hivyo. Lakini kuna wakati walikuja wakasimamisha hiyo mambo. Wakasema taki mchele nyingine. Mchele ikafungiwa kwa manyumba.
Not unless there are some specific farmers who are buying from the farmer and then delivering directly, which must be a cartel. Otherwise, the ordinary farmer is not benefiting from the directive of the president.
The farmers further lament that the Agriculture CS has failed to act on the directive by President Uhuru Kenyatta to increase the price of unprocessed rice from 45 shillings to 85 shillings per kilogram. Former Mwea MP Peter Gitau called on leaders in Kirinyaga County to unite and ensure rice farmers benefit from the directive issued by the president during his Kirinyaga tour in March this year. For TV47, I'm Zainab Mohammed.
Moving on, educators in Uasin Gishu County have praised the government's directive for the community-based learning program. The stakeholders say that the program is an opportunity for many pupils in both public and private schools who have stayed away from school for long due to COVID-19. Our reporter Calvin Chitwa now reports from the sprawling estate of Huruma in Eldoret, where 3 children have not stopped visiting their school.
Despite the heavy rains that have been pounding Eldoret town and its environs, these children have been visiting their school with the hope that learning will resume and COVID-19 will one day be a thing of the past. They walk along the corridors to shelter from the rain as they move closer to their classroom. The door to their classroom has cobwebs, a clear sign that for a long time no learning has been taking place here. In other classrooms, desks have gathered dust. It is perhaps this scenario that inspired one of them to compose a song on COVID-19 pandemic.
Kuikubali mahongo wakati wa corona, so be safe.
Samuel Njau has been using his time to practice the song, hoping that life will fall back to normal in the near future.
Corona haibagui, inaweza ua hata lui, mbwa paka simba pia wamo hatarini. Kwani wewe nani eti huwezi kukuwai? Labda kama una pray kwa sagoda, play kama him.
Njau, who hails from Huruma slums in Eldoret town, says this is the only place he can do his work without interference.
Nyumba zimekaribiana sana na watu ni wengi, alafu watu wanalalamika hawataki kelele kwenye ploti. Unajua lazima ufuate masharti. Sasa tuko na kizungumkuti.
Njau, like many other pupils, found himself idle and with no books to read after the closure of schools.
tukubalie tukujange na kufanyia mazoezi hapa shuleni kwa sababu hakuna masumbufu yoyote hapa.
At Komido School, learners used to be provided with books to read when schools were on. The director of Komido School, Boniface Simani, says though community-based learning is a great idea to keep learners busy, the government must find places where children will be comfortable because those in populated slums like Huruma do not have such places other than in schools.
Serikali ikaweze kuangalia ya kwamba watoto hawa wanatoka katika masingara ambayo pengine ni vigumu sana wao kuweza kuwa na nafasi hiyo ama mahali pa kuweza kufanyia mazoezi hayo.
Simani adds that for the program to be implemented well, the only option available is for the schools to be used.
Serikali inaweza ikawaruhusu watoto wawe wanakuja katika sehemu za shule mbalimbali ili wapate nafasi ya kutosha ili waweze kujielimisha na kuendeleza program hizi ambazo tumeweza kupata circular ya serikali ikituomba tuwahusishe watoto katika masomo mbalimbali ya huku nyumbani.
He says many children have a challenge of finding places where they can study from during the COVID-19 pandemic period. Calvin Chitwa, TV47, was in Gishu County.
Thank you, Calvin Chitwa, for that report. Elsewhere, healthcare workers in Embu County have in the last months taken to the street to demand for better working conditions. The frontline workers are protesting against the delayed payout of COVID-19 allowances. This week alone, the healthcare workers have staged 2 protests demanding that their grievances be addressed.
Embu County have taken to the street twice to protest over what they term as poor working conditions and delayed COVID-19 allowances. They complain that their grievances have greatly compromised the quality of health services in the county. Speaking to journalists after a meeting with the county's Health Chief Executive Committee member and the Public Service Board representatives, Aloysius Njoka, the chairman of the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers Embu branch, said the situation at the county was putting health workers at greater risk of infection.
I've lost a number of health workers in the fight against corona. We as employees are not taking things lightly. We need protection.
Njoka took a swipe at the health management who were accused of misappropriation of funds meant for healthcare workers.
Napata kuna pesa imepeanwa ilipwe, wale wanalipwa na wale wanaenda kazi kwa ground na wale wanalipwa ni watu tofauti.
He also accused the management of negligence, adding that the county lacked enough ambulances as many were not serviced. A spot check earlier done by TV47 indicated several ambulances are lying idle in mechanical yards, with mechanics appealing to the county government of Embu to pay them their dues.
Kama ambulance hazikui resurfaced, unapata county moja inazunguka ambulance mbili badala na zingine kama 10 zimelala.
Ambayo hata haijamaliza miaka 10.
Welcome back to TV47 News Tonight. Thank you for staying with us. Now, Nyeri Governor Mutahi Kahiga was put to task to explain over 6 million shillings variation expenditure without proper documentation in the financial year 2017-2018. Appearing before the Senate's County Public Accounts and Investments Committee, chaired by Senator Sam Ongeri, Governor Kahiga was pressed hard to explain why his county has recorded less than 1 billion shillings in the total assets in the assets registrar since his tenure in 2017.
We fidelited the rule of law and to this document you have given us. If you think there is something that you need us to take note of, even in camera, you can even request the chair we go for camera if you feel uncomfortable. Instead of telling us that some of these issues that we are bringing now it is not a yes or no answer. Why are you behaving like Christians of Antioch, where they were not cold or warm or hot? Can you just own up your document, and if there is a problem, there is a procedure how some of these issues can be handled?
When you realize that the county government has made an effort to write to Treasury to see those figures are resolved and they are unable, those are the facts you need to put on your audit report. Then if Treasury fails you, we as a committee, we can be able to pick it up with Treasury. So I don't see why you are taking us pause.
I also want to see if there was a written response from the National Treasury concerning the audit query. That should be made available to us at this stage. Our only major concern at this stage is that the IFMIS is showing a figure that you are denying of 13 billion plus. And your contention is that some money somewhere must have gone somewhere, or there would have been no money lost at all. We don't know which is which. And until that issue is clarified, that stands to be the figure. And the onus is upon you to discharge that figure from these books.
Around, because we refuse to believe that Nyeri is this poor. I am sure, Governor, you and I have been in politics for a long time. Are you trying to say that I'm slightly richer than Nyeri or about as rich as Nyeri? So, but just respond to the correct question.
Thank you very much.
It would be proper, and the auditor also confirmed that this cannot be reflecting what Nyeri owns. It would be proper to, before we write the report, to get the value of the assets recorded in Nyeri, just to continue tracing this, because I do not think that Nyeri is this poor.
Focused on lands and buildings, motor vehicles, etc., all that the county was meant to own. But unfortunately, then the tenure of IGTRC ended, and at the summit, we were not able to extend their tenure, and I think we have been in the process of now recruiting a new one, which I think is now so it is stalled. So as we speak today, counties have not sorted out what they own and what they don't own.
Now, Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko says that he is ready to withdraw all the cases he filed against NMS Director Mohamed Badi and the NMS. The county boss said he had agreed to work with NMS after they ironed out their differences.
Lakini kutoka ndugu yetu rais jana tushikanishe, na mimi na Badi pia tukaongea, going forward wananchi wa Nairobi kitu wataona sasa ni maendeleo. Hata kama kutakuwa na tofauti hapo mbeleni zitakuwa za kikazi, tutasolve kivyetu na Badi kwa ofisi, tuseme hapa ni sawa, hapa si sawa, hapa ni sawa, hapa si sawa. Wao wafanye miradi
tuwasupport ili account ilibaki pia tu support kwa sababu mimi na baadhi tuko in competition.
President Uhuru Kenyatta has instructed new recruits into the Kenya Prison Service to offer service that help in reforms that offenders without stigmatization and undue pain. The president rallied against the use of retribution, punishment, condemnation, stigmatization on offenders. The head of state spoke during the 44th passing out parade of prisons recruits in Ruiru.
But in a free Kenya, the prison service must be a place of restorative justice. If the colonial approach to prisons was about retribution, punishment, condemnation, stigmatization, and pain, restorative justice is about correction. It is not about punishing the prisoner, condemning and stigmatizing him with painful methods. It is about repairing his humanity and restoring his God-given goodness. As we commission you as new recruits at the National Police Service, I want you to embrace this emerging order of restoration as opposed to the colonial relic of stigmatization of wrongdoers.
Let's get to the world of sports, the world of business rather, and Cooperative Bank has made a 4% decline in profit after tax in the first half of the year. This represents 7.2 billion in a decline that was attributed to the lender's higher provisioning for expected credit loss on loan insurance. Loan loss provision in the period rose by 57.9% to 1.87 billion from 1.18 billion shillings last year. Let's get to the world of sports now, and Kenya's global athletic champions will headline the Monaco leg of Diamond League series set for Friday. The Kenyan brigade jetted out of the country on Sunday, led by Helen Obiri, Timothy Cheruiyot and Beatrice Chepkoech for first post-lockdown international track and field event after COVID-19 decimated the 2020 global sporting calendar. Now, Harambee Stars striker Vincent Oburu has signed for Wazito FC days after ditching AFC Leopards. Oburu advisor, former Kenya international Boniface Ambani, has distanced himself from the move, insisting that the 22-year-old made a personal decision to call it quits at the Den.
Kwa hivyo nimeweza kumkuza kisoka kuanzia hapo utotoni mwake mpaka saizi vile yuko. Kwa hivyo advice nyingi sana hiyo kupata kutoka kwangu, ni nini anataka kufanya zote. Kwa hivyo Oburu ameamua kuondoka, na nafikiria labda kulikuwa kutokuelewana kati yake na viongozi wa klabu ya AFC Leopards, na akaweza kuondoka. Lakini kwa soka ni jambo la kawaida. Hata anaweza toka hivyo aende apige season 2 huko, msimu 2-3, haji-establish tena arudi. Bado ni kijana, angali mchanga sana. Kwa hivyo yeye kuondoka kwake, nadhani aliweza
47 News Tonight with me, Abu Bakar Abdullahi. Let me go through some of your feedback on Facebook. Nancy Wangeshi says she's watching from Nakuru. Ayub Muya says watching from Kibwezi. Predix Juma says watching from Saudia. Harrison Otieno says he's watching. That brings us to the end of tonight's edition of TV47 News Tonight. On behalf of the entire team that made this production possible, bye for now. Enjoy the rest of our programs, but I leave you with the weather updates.